Heyo, Zempuck here. Another day not working for the man. Alright, today's question comes from a friend of mine who asked whether it's more prudent to buy a car with all cash or a very low interest rate loan. I can expand on this question a little bit. I think what she meant is whether these are the best options also compared to, say, a traditional car loan. Okay, so obviously, I run a channel on financial independence, so getting a regular car loan is out of the question. Those are the decisions made by people who will never, ever have any kind of financial flexibility whatsoever. Okay, so if you're thinking about getting a regular car loan that's like 3, 4, 5, or even longer terms, in terms of years long, that's a terrible idea. And to be honest, any kind of car loan is a bad idea, according to me. Okay. How much car can you afford? Well, let me ask you this question. Not only should you not buy a car that you can't afford with cash on hand, you shouldn't buy a car that you can't afford to buy multiples of. Let's say three of. Okay. So the average car new car price sold in America is something like 30 G's. So my point is, if you have 100,000 cash on hand, not investments, but cash, liquid cash on hand, then go ahead, buy that average car. Somehow I don't think most Americans have $100,000 on cash, okay? So let me repeat, $100,000 on hand means that you can go buy the average new car. Okay, doesn't mean that you can go get yourself, top of the line Mercedes or BMW. Okay, in order for you to afford that, you need $300,000-400,000 in cash. Which, I mean, if you had that much in cash, you're doing better than me. Okay, and honestly, most of you are not, right? So just forget about cars. Cars are a huge, incredible waste of money. Okay. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that cars aren't useful. Okay. I think they're very useful. I think there's a purpose to the freedom that a car can provide you in terms of transportation flexibility, right? What I am saying is that you don't need all the bells and whistles that makes a car these days balloon up to 30K on average, right? That is absolutely absurd, right? It used to be that you can get a car for like 15, 20 G's, right? Now it's 30 G's. So really think about that, especially for the half of Americans that can't even come up with $1,000 in an emergency fund, right? If you can't come up with $1,000 for an emergency fund, how is it prudent for you to, take on a loan 30 times that size? That's just absolutely astoundingly absurd, right? So for most of Americans, I would say just get a used car. Okay, get a reliable used car that serves the function of what a car is generally known for, which is a transportation device, right? It gets you from point A to point B. All the fancy bells and whistles are for if you're flush with cash, or if I mean, honestly, most people get fancy cars to show off their status, right? It's understandable, okay? I get it. I get the innate desire to want to show off your status, but one, I think it's silly to do that in the form of a car, because as much as that works as a status symbol, right? It's not worth the trade-off, the financial trade-off, to be in debt for 5, 6 years for the traditional loan, right? So I would say, if you're not flush with cash, really think about what is the purpose of your car, right? And if the answer that you reach upon is like to look cool in front of ladies, or to look cool in front of my neighbors, or to look cool and make my clients think that I'm really rich when I'm not, I mean, why don't you get rich first, right? Work on the actual improvement that you can make in your life, rather than having some material good that depreciates rapidly in the first 3 to 5 years, that will land you in a lot of debt over a long time, right? That's like a burden, something that you can barely get rid of, dragging you, slowly into the financial abyss. And that's why my suggestion is, no, you should never have any sort of loan when buying a car. And to be honest, not only should you buy it in cash, but you should spend the amount that you have triple of, at the very least. Right? Thanks, guys. Have a good night.